KBOI.
A couple weeks ago, I lightheartedly declared war on the Idaho legislature. And here's why. You just heard Debbie do a newscast, but here's why.
Idaho Republicans on Thursday introduced three competing bills aimed at property tax relief. One would subsidize homeowners' property taxes using state sales tax revenue. Another would increase and index the homeowners exemption. And the third, which is backed by House leadership, targets school facility costs to ease the necessity for districts to seek bonds while also raising the exemption slightly. The House Revenue and Taxation Committee introduced all three bills on Thursday. The committee's chairman, Representative Jason Monks of Meridian, told the Idaho Statesman that he decided to hear all three bills at once because it's important that these ideas get out there. But he said that doesn't mean that they will all get hearings moving forward, but we're going to see what the committee wants to do.
Best part about that story is it's 25 days old. State Senator C. Scott Grow joining us here in studio. One of those bills is yours for property tax. And listen, anytime a lawmaker from the Idaho legislature wants to come on this program, I'm more than happy to have him on. What I guess my first question is there's a feeling word. It's called real. Okay, how would you define a real tax cut? How would you define that in whether it's your head or whether it's on paper? How would you define a real property tax cut for citizens in Idaho?
Thanks, Nate. I would define that as something substantial and ongoing.
Okay. So you have an idea.
I do.
Tell me about your idea, and I'll give you just a little curveball, using as few numbers as possible.
Thank you. Well, let me just mention, you said that was 25 days ago, and I presented my bill in the House then, and nothing has happened. And so I'm doing something unusual. I'm presenting a bill in the Senate. Usually, tax bills begin in the House.
Yes.
And the reason is because they're raising taxes, and so that's by Constitution. But if it's not raising tax, we can begin it in the Senate, and mine does not raise tax. It's using sales tax that we're already collecting, no new tax, to help the homeowner and give them a refund.
Now, what is
ongoing?
What is when you say using sales tax to do what? To fill in the gaps that the counties and cities need, or in the schools?
No, thank you for that question. This does not affect what the cities, counties, or any local taxing district does. Whatever your tax bill is, think of your tax bill, and the bottom line, that's your total you owe. Then there will be a subtraction from the state of Idaho tax relief, and it'll be a subtraction right from your bill, and you will just pay the net.
How much? How much are you in percentage or sliding scale? How much are you planning to cut Idahoans' property tax?
I'll give you an easy example. You said keep it easy.
Yes.
Okay? If you have and this is tax. It's not looking at your valuation on your house or levies or anything. If your tax is $3,000,
okay,
then the minimum would be somewhere around a $600 cut. And this bill the new bill I added in the Senate has a surplus eliminator. I won't talk about what that means, but it's additional money that could come out of the surplus up to another $150 million. And so that could give you another $600 deduction. So you could have a $1,200 deduction off from your $3,000.
Okay. See, when you say could, that's a possibility of a bonus, but nobody should really bank on could.
Right. The minimum, yes, will be $600.
Okay. So you're talking 20%.
Yeah.
The 20%, you would say your idea cuts property taxes 20%.
Correct. And up to 40%.
Okay.
Based on the surplus. If we have a surplus, it'll automatically kick in, and it'll go up to that extra $150 million, so 40%.
How do you find out how much sales tax you move from the general fund to where the property tax would go?
Because my bill says 4.5% of existing sales tax revenues, and that comes up to about $150 million as we look forward. And that's ever increasing. That's the beauty of using a percentage rather than a fixed figure. It will keep increasing every year because sales tax is always going up. The revenue, not the percentage.
State Senator C. Scott Grow joining us here in studio. And if you have questions about this bill, 208-336-3700. Okay? He wanted to come on. He said during the break that he listens to this program, so he's fully aware that every once in a while I turn you loose. I turn the masses loose on you.
Good.
Because that's really, it's not about me, it's about them. Because I rent.
Let me add this.
Okay.
Everybody down there at the legislature has a lobbyist. the
Okay.
cities, the counties. Everybody's got lobbyists.
Mhm.
Education. The homeowner does not have a lobbyist. I'm here to advocate for the homeowner.
Okay. You already run re-election, so don't start campaigning just yet, because there's a drum that I and a number of other people in media have beat for a while, and because you want to use sales tax to backfill.
Yep.
Okay. Can you do your idea, and you're the numbers guy?
Yep.
Can you do your idea and stop tax on groceries?
You can't do both at the same time. Let me tell you why.
Tell me.
I happen to be the chair of the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, and the Constitution mandates a balanced budget.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've worked with the governor, worked with other legislators and others for a year to get a carve out for this property tax. That's the number one complaint I get, more so than sales tax. I hear property tax.
Okay.
So we can't do everything at once.
Okay.
We're going to address property tax right now.
Okay, so you're saying the money isn't there. You're going to give 20%. You're going to do a 20% property tax cut, up to 40%, but a minimum 20% property tax cut, effective when?
This first year, effective in November, when you get your bill,
Okay.
you see your bill in December, when you have to pay it, you would have that at least that amount to become
Effective immediately.
effective immediately.
And if
As soon as
there
it passes.
and if there is a budget surplus, the property tax owners get another 20%.
Exactly.
That's the now. For those of you listening, I get emails, nate@kboi.com. If you are listening, you own your home. If you know or you rent or you have a mortgage, is there anything in your bill that helps out renters all over the state? Because renters do pay property tax.
They do.
And is there anything in there that helps out renters?
No, there is not.
Okay.
We've been helping renters. We've been giving out tens of millions of dollars in rent relief for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So this is not directed to renters.
Okay.
If we tried to help the renters, it really goes to the landlord. The landlord's the one that owns it. He's the one that would be paying the property tax. That's a business, just like another business. And
Sure.
so there's no guarantee if we helped out landlords that he would pass it on to anybody.
208-336-3700, pound 670 on your Verizon wireless phone. I don't pay property tax. I pay rent. All right. So
I feel sorry for you.
I don't have a lawn to mow. That's fine.
I'm happy for you.
I listen. I am fine to not own it. I understand what I gave up. I get a message here for Dave, who I know is in Emmett, and Dave says, I voted for Senator Grow and really hope there's real property tax relief. Otherwise, this is the number one issue with property owners. Property tax relief, real property tax relief. Dave goes on to say property tax relief should have been the first thing the legislature got through to the governor. Your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. And that was my desire. And that's what I asked the governor and I asked the House. Here's the challenge. Remember those bills you said 25 days ago that were introduced?
Mm-hmm.
Those bills are still over there.
Okay.
They haven't been heard. They've been printed, but haven't had a hearing.
Why?
I'm not in charge of the House. You have
No,
to
but
talk
you're
to
in the
those
building. You don't say you don't know why. You guys are all in the building, and I know that there's a large circle that separates the House from the Senate. But I know you guys talk.
We do. We
Okay.
talk a lot.
Okay.
We're trying to get a compromise with those guys over there, both sides. You saw that they had their bill that they put out, which was different than what I had. And so all of those have been sitting there, and we've been negotiating since that time.
208-336-3700. Let's go to Anthony in Meridian, listening on 93.1 KBOI FM. Anthony, you're on KBOI with
Hey,
Senator
guys, how
C.
you
Scott Grow. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, real quick. Has this proposal been stress tested for the assumption that there may be a economic downturn of some duration?
Yes, thank you for that question. I happen to be the chair of the Joint Finance Appropriation Committee, so I have just as much concern as you do on how much revenue is coming in and how much we're spending. So we have a budget stabilization account. If you think of it as a rainy day fund, we have a rainy day fund in case we miss, and that's the beauty of a surplus eliminator, is we will only get that if they're sufficient in the revenues, which we anticipate that it will be because we're talking about the next year here, and we haven't seen that recession yet, but we've been talking to economists nationwide, and we've factored all that into it, so we should be fine.
How about the opinions from the school boards, the counties, the cities? You know, you want to cut 20%, or do they not care because they're getting their money anyway?
That's where the House wants to do something for them.
Explain that. I'm sorry.
Okay, remember their bill? There were 3 bills that were introduced?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, mine is focused on the homeowners. Theirs is focused on schools.
Okay.
And so that's why we may be looking at a combination of the two.
Is a 20% property tax cut real enough for you? That's the question on the table. And again, you say 20 to a maximum of 40.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go with the lowest number.
Sure you do.
So is a 20% property tax cut real property tax relief to you? If you're listening right now, I'm asking that question right now. I have a state senator joining us in studio. It's his idea. Does that fit your definition of real property tax? 208-336-3700, real property tax relief. How about circuit breaker for the senior citizens?
Thank you. We've added that in. We've increased the amounts of revenue that they can have and also the cost of their house. So this is in that bill too.
Okay.
That I introduced last Thursday. In fact, I'll make this comment. I chair the JFAC committee,
Mm-hmm.
therefore I couldn't introduce the bill there at the same time, so I asked one of the senators to do it for me.
Okay.
So it's been introduced, and then we'll have a hearing on it Wednesday, the after tomorrow, in the Senate.
208-336-3700. When people say they want real tax relief, that's a feeling word. That's a word that's kind of difficult to define. What's real? Because 1% would be real. It may not be. May not be the number that everybody wants. How did you get to 20? Nice round number?
Nope.
Okay.
Working with the governor, working with all the different groups out there, but primarily the governor, because if you remember in his State of the State address, he addressed property tax relief. I've been pushing for 3 years to do property tax relief, and we keep doing these income tax reductions. We've done 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we're getting around to property tax. I wanted more. That's what the governor was willing to put in his State of the State. And it's a negotiation thing, as you know, 105 legislators and a governor to get anything done.
Senator C. Scott Grow joining us here in studio. Mike, Meridian, listening on 670 KBOI AM. Go ahead, Mike.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Scott, we've talked about this before. I'm wondering why we can't do a twofer where the state actually steps up once and for all and deals with the responsibility it has to fund the schools by relieving the bonded indebtedness, and we almost get a 25 to 30% property tax relief from just that action. Why can't we do that?
Thank you for the question. I had a bill just like that last year, and it got in at the end of the session. With all this negotiation, it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the negotiation we have with the House. Their piece is on the schools, on bonded indebtedness, et cetera. Mine's on the homeowner directly. And we're looking to put those two together because you have to have both the House and the Senate to pass this thing.
Mike, I asked a question. You're going to answer it. Is 20% real property tax cut to you?
It's a good start.
Okay. You know what? I dig that as an answer. It's a good start.
Good start.
It's a good start. 208-336-3700.
And with that, Nate,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't the last bill that ever be passed on property taxes. We'll keep working on this thing.
You better. 208-336-3700, pound 670 on your Verizon Wireless phone, 1-800-529-KBOI. You can email in, nate@kboi.com. State Senator C. Scott Grow, you've heard him mention this a couple times, chairman of JFAC, which means he gets his mind melted by just going through Microsoft Excel all day long. But you're the numbers guy.
I am a CPA by profession.
Okay, you're a numbers guy. So, bill as general as possible for the purposes of radio. However, all you have to do is go to legislature.idaho.gov, and Mr. Grow's email address is right on there. You can ask him all the questions. More of your calls when we come back.
Broadcasting to the world.
Court of Public Opinion, the KBOI committee, whatever you want to call it. Do you like it? Do you like the idea? What else would you like to see added, taken away from? What questions do you have? That's why we have the lawmakers joining us here in studio. And your idea, just loosely put, is a 20% tax cut to property tax. If there is a budget surplus, that could go up to 40%.
Right.
Okay. So for the audience, is that good enough for you? Does that fit the definition of real property tax? A real property tax cut. 208-336-3700. Let's go to Aaron in Nampa. listening on 93.1 KBOI FM. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
All right. I think it's good, but what I would like to see, I moved here in 2010, and the homeowners exemption for a house was about $75,000 then, and now the homeowners exemption is only about $125,000, but the houses are 4 times as much as they were before. Why is the homeowners exemption not increasing? I can see the 20%, that's great, but that's going to be a one-time maybe deal. I want to see something long-term. We've got a solution for the house.
Hold on one second, Aaron. We have to teach radio to Senator Grote. When you shake your head, they can't hear that, sir.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
Senator Grote is shaking his head no. So you're saying this isn't a one-time
No,
cut?
and that's the problem with the homeowners exemption. That tends to kind of readjust back, but then the discrepancy continues off into the future. My bill is a continual year after year after year, and the amount and the percent will get higher every year based on the revenue collections from sales tax, which always have been going up except for 1 year in the last 20 years.
Aaron, does that answer your question?
Well, it does, but it's still an if. Only if there's a surplus. So if there's not a surplus, then there's no relief.
Nope. There's a 20% release automatic, and maybe up to 40% if there's surplus.
If there's surplus.
Right.
I mean, I think it's good. I'd like to see the homeowners exemptions also go up to reflect the pricing of houses now.
Is that part of your bill or no?
That's been in and out as we've talked about a compromise with the House. And the challenge there is when you start, we try to get this thing passed. And if we start adversely affecting business, et cetera, then it makes it harder to get it passed. Because then all of those lobbies jump in, and they do not like homeowners exemption.
So you're offering a 20% cut up to 40%. Why not just readjust the math overall to say here's what your cut automatically is. Here's what the math, here's what the property tax automatically is, and if we have a budget, then you get an extra 20% on top of that.
Well, that's what we have. We get the 20% up front.
Okay.
Without any question. Okay. And then the up to another 20%. If there's a budget surplus, which there has been, as you know, $1 billion each year for the last couple of years.
There's 2 other ideas that are out there. State Senator C. Scott Grote joining us here in studio. There's 2 other ideas that are out there, and we kind of touched on them. And I don't want you to badmouth or pat them on the back, but there's other ideas on how to cut property taxes. There's been an idea that was brought up for those refugees that have left California, where their property taxes stays at the price they bought their home at, where just that never changes. They don't get taxed on the value they don't currently have. They get taxed at what they purchased the home for. Why couldn't those models work in Idaho?
We looked at that. We've studied all kinds of alternatives.
Okay.
And that's one of them. And the reason is we have our Constitution does not allow that to happen. We have to have the same levy going on everybody per the Constitution. It has to be equal.
Okay, so you still could say that your property tax is based on the value of what you purchased the home at, right?
Yes, but again, it looks at the market value as well. We've looked at it a lot.
Okay.
Right? So we've looked at that. Can't do it.
Oh, hold on. People can vote.
Well, if we change the Constitution, we can do it.
Huh. Jim says, when we repeatedly have a surplus that nearly equals the personal income tax receipts, why can't we look at eliminating personal income tax like Florida and Texas, even if we raise sales tax 1%, as everyone pays that tax, not just workers or property owners? I got about 30 seconds left for that answer.
Yeah, we've looked at that as well. And the income tax, we've dropped that rate 3 times now in the last year, and we'll be dropping that again likely this next session.
Well, sir, I appreciate you stopping by. We're going to continue to talk about you and the rest of the Idaho legislature as the days goes on. But State Senator C. Scott Grote, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
News coming up next.